a standalone lecture on probability. It's going to be quite brief, in part because we're going to be talking about probability throughout the semester. We'll be discussing it in class as well as in many of the different videos that we're watching. And this is also a topic that you should have covered in your mathematics courses that are prerequisites for this particular course. So, probability, what is it? It's the chance that a particular event's going to occur. The higher the likelihood that an event will occur, the higher the probability. And probability is the basis of inferential statistics. So prior to this lecture, we've exclusively discussed descriptive statistics, but this is serving as a transition into the realm of statistics where we're beginning to make predictions and to test hypotheses. So let's think about an example. Sporting events are great in thinking about probability because oftentimes there's some type of odds that are placed on the teams as far as their likelihood to win or to lose. And so the previous Super Bowl, we saw that Kansas City was favored to win, and so the odds or the probability that Kansas City would win were greater than the probability or the odds that they would lose. And so when we're thinking about what the odds of something are, we're asking what's the likelihood or the probability that a particular event is going to occur. Now something a bit more applicable to marine biology, maybe we're interested in the sizes of red drum and we're interested in the likelihood that they're different across different bay systems, maybe because of different environmental conditions, food availability, predation risk, some other factor. We can investigate this by collecting length data of our red drum and the bay systems of interest, and then we can use different statistical tests to determine if there is a difference or not, to see what is the likelihood that there is a difference between these red drum across different ecosystems. Similarly, we could look at rainfall patterns across Texas, particularly in an area of interest, and we could determine if there is a difference in the amount of precipitation from one year to the next, and see what the likelihood is that there's been either an increase or a decrease in rainfall in, say, Galveston, by looking at the total rainfall across the years of interest. So, probability is a numerical measurement of the likelihood that some type of event is going to occur. And we denote this by P with the parentheses, and inside the parentheses is the event that we're interested in. So this could be P of X, P of Y, some other particular event. It doesn't matter, but that P will indicate to us that this is a probability that we're interested in. We're looking at for the likelihood that this event is going to occur. Now, a basic property of probabilities is that they're between 0 and 1. If the probability of a particular event is 0, well then it's going to indicate that that event will never occur. If the probability is 1, well then it's certain to occur, it will occur every single time. And we can think about this like rolling 2 dice. The probability of rolling a number higher than 12 is 0 because the maximum numbers on those dice are going to be 6. In contrast, probability that the sun is going to rise each day is 1. This is a certain event that will occur. Now we can break probability into two main fields. The first of which is classic probability, and this was developed by gamblers to improve their odds of winning. And so in general, when we're thinking about classic probability, there's a certain number of outcomes and they're all equally likely to occur. So we can determine the probability of each outcome as 1 over the total number of possible outcomes, in this case big N. So let's say that we're rolling a die and there's 6 different sides and each of these numbers has an equal likelihood of coming up. The probability of any one of those numbers is going to be 1 over the number of sides of this die, which would be 6. So the probability of any event when we're thinking about classic probability is the number of outcomes that are favorable to that particular event over the number of possible outcomes in that sample space. Now, in classic probability, all of these outcomes are equally likely. This is a key factor to this. And this is also a limitation, because in science, it's pretty rare that events are equally likely to occur. We think about going out and sampling fish. We're going to have a net with a certain mesh size. Now that mesh size is going to preclude certain fish from being caught that are either too small and fit through the mesh size or are too big or not going to be caught. Similarly, maybe the distribution of species is going to influence the likelihood of them being sampled in a particular ecosystem. In Galveston Bay, we're going to have a lot more red drum than we will swordfish just based on the ecological and environmental conditions within the ecosystem. So, likelihood is not always equal in most situations, but classic probability gives us a solid foundation to work from. Now, when we have some prior knowledge about a particular event occurring, we use empirical probability. And this is, again, the relative frequency that some type of event is going to occur, but it's going to be based on a long series of monitoring or data collection. And so in this particular case, our probability is going to be the number of times the event has occurred in the past over the number of trials or the number of data collection periods. And this is oftentimes based on our own experience or that of other scientists or other studies. So let's think about empirical probability and classic probability using dice. So let's say that we have two dice and we roll them 50 times, and we're recording the summation of those two dice every single time that we roll them, and we get the following data. It's a bit messy, but what we know based on the dice is that the numbers are going to be somewhere between 2 and 12 based on the numbers that are on each individual die. And let's say that we're interested in the probability of rolling a 6, whether that is a combination of 1 and 5, 3 and 3, or 4 and 2. And based on our data, what we find is that 5 out of the 50 dice rolls, we end up with a 6. And so 10% of the time we get a 6. And so for empirical probability, we might indicate that the probability of rolling another 6 is 10%. Now we can compare this to classic probability, in which we're looking at all the possible combinations of dice rolls. 1 and 1, 1 and 2, 1 and 3, all the way down to 6 and 6. And then we can add up their sums, and we can then determine the frequency of occurrence of the event of interest. Again, we're interested in rolling 6. And we find that out of all the possible combinations, 5 of these combinations lead to us rolling a 6. And then we could compare this to the total number of events, total number of possibilities, 36. Now what we clearly see is that there's a difference in the probability of rolling a 6 when we're considering classic probability versus empirical probability. The empirical probability is lower than what we would expect. Now, this doesn't mean that classic probability or empirical probability is wrong or inappropriate to use, but what is important is that we know the difference between these two and we know when to use them. So we're not going to go into super detail as far as determining probabilities, but this is something that you should be aware of based on your prior knowledge of mathematics, and I'd also encourage you to check out section 5.1 of the text to brief yourself on this. So if classic and empirical probability oftentimes don't match up, which are we going to use when we're thinking about science? Well, if we're coming into a situation in which we're completely unaware of the circumstances, well then classic probability is probably what we want to start with to develop our hypotheses. And then as we go through the experimentation and data collection analyses phase of the scientific method, we're going to revise our hypotheses in order to account for this deviation and potentially start using more empirical probability to refine our study. Now, a couple important rules when we're thinking about probability, and these are going to be important moving forward for the statistical tests that we're using. First of which is that a probability is always a fraction or a percent, somewhere between 0 and 1, as we've mentioned. And the probability of different events occurring are going to be mutually exclusive. If you're thinking about flipping a coin, if you get a heads, then you're not getting a tails. If you're getting a tails, then you're not getting a heads. If you're thinking about sampling fish, if you catch a red drum, then you're not catching a spotted sea trout. Or if you are looking at the sex of a shark, if the shark is male, then it's not female. These are mutually exclusive. Another important rule is the subtraction rule, and we're going to talk in more detail about this in the next set of lectures when we talk about distributions. But the probability of a particular event occurring is going to equal 1 minus the probability of all the other events occurring. So if we're interested in the probability of getting a heads or tails, we know that when we flip a coin, we have a 50-50 chance of getting one or the other. So if we're interested in the probability of getting a tails, we can take 1 minus the probability of getting a heads, and we can then determine what the probability is of the event that we're interested in. Finally, the independence rule is that the occurrence of one event has no effect on the probability of another event. And this is an important assumption for the statistical test that we'll be using in this class. So if you go out and you sample a set of blue crabs and you get a certain number of lengths, those lengths are not going to influence the next sample of blue crabs that you take maybe in the next month. Again, we're not going into detail with this, but you should be familiar with probability and some of the basic terms and some of the rules and being able to determine probability based on a set of data. And so please check out sections 5.2, 5.4, and 5.6 in the text. Some basic things that you should be aware of for probability is to be able to describe probability and its basic characteristics, and be able to distinguish between classic probability and empirical probability and know when we use them in science. So this marks the end of the lecture on probability. Again, we're going through this quickly, but use the text as a reference, and we'll be talking about this throughout the semester in a more context-specific manner. The next lecture, we're going to talk about the binomial distribution, and we're going to talk about a variety of probability distributions in the next set of videos.